What's really good, YouTube, is your man Ribs again. How we doing? So today we're going to talk about scanners. Well, specifically one scanner, and that is the Epson V550. That's the scanner that I currently own, that I currently use for everything that I do in terms of film processing. For a while, I was looking at all these different hacks in order to try to scan film. I did DSLR scans. I would use my iPhone for certain scans. I was even looking at those really small 35 millimeter scanners that you feed the film into that cost about $100. And just in general, I feel like the results were never going to be as good as a lab scan or even close with any of those options. At a certain point, you just can't hack it anymore. You need a really good solution to actually deliver pro-style results for the scans that you're trying to achieve. The scanner is definitely a bit of a workhorse. It does the job quite well, especially for the cost, but it doesn't have all these fancy bells and whistles when it comes to what a scanner could have. The price tag for this is typically somewhere around $200 US, although with discounts nowadays, you can actually get it for quite a bit cheaper. I bought mine in the UK for about 150 pounds, so it fits right around the ballpark in terms of what the value typically is. So here we have the Epson 550 scanner. As you can see, it's a flatbed scanner, which is nice because that means it tucks away quite nicely in whatever area you put it. So this scanner enables transparency scanning. You'll see here when I open this that not only does it have a glass panel up above here, but of course it's got the usual flat glass panel here on the bottom. So that is the key to allowing negatives to scan. As you notice, this area is quite narrow compared to the overall surface area of the top, and that actually is what determines how big the negatives are that you can scan. So in this scanner, you can only do 35 millimeter and 120, which is probably enough for most people out there. But if you're looking to scan 4x5 film, this is not the option for you. You will have to upgrade to one of the more pricey options that Epson has. If you're doing 35 mil and 120, this is a great option, but it does not come without some cons. First and foremost, the scanner is quite loud. If you're gonna share a space with anybody else and you're perhaps in a small office or in a small studio, this might not be the best option strictly because of the noise. People in the room will hear it, and if they are intolerant of the sound, then it might be an issue for you. Although this is a great option, this scanner is a bit finicky. You do have to typically follow an order of operations in order to get to do exactly what you want. And even then, sometimes it just might decide it doesn't want to scan anymore, and then you have to turn off your computer or reset your computer and turn off the scanner in order to restart the whole process. Doing that is quite annoying, but it typically does do the job. On top of that, if you have any dust or any dirt on the actual scanner surface, that will lead to issues when scanning. Dust and dirt are obviously something you don't want in your scans, but typically this scanner, when there is too much of it or where there is something particular in it that's bothering it, it will deliver really poor scans with these harsh lines running across the image. That's not ideal because that's not something you can clean up in Photoshop, whereas typical specks of dust and small specks of dirt, you could just open in Photoshop or Lightroom and knock them right out with a bit of a clone tool. These are the negative holders that you use to scan your film. As you can see here, we have one for 120 and we have one for 35 mil. On the 120 one, you can fit a few images here depending on the ratio of the images that you have. If you have a 6x6, then you can probably fit 4. If you have a 6x7, maybe you can fit 3. If you have a 6x9, then you're probably going to fit 2 on here. With 35 millimeter, you have 2 sections here that allow you to do 2 strips of 6 photos each, and then you also have 4 holders for slide film. The upgraded versions of the scanner actually give you holders that are bigger than this. So as opposed to only having 2, you would have one that has 4 running across. And that's fantastic because then you can load all 4 strips of film and then proceed through the scanning process without having to change anything out. With this one, every 2 strips, you have to change it out, which adds some time, especially since you have to clean your negatives, get rid of the dust, perhaps swipe them with a glove, and then you have to put them in here. And this, although this works really well, if your negatives are a bit curled, then it could be a bit finicky to get them in here properly and to align properly. As long as your negatives are flat, it shouldn't be a problem, but let's face it, not everyone who processes their own film always ends up with perfectly flat results. Last thing about this scanner that I'd love to talk about is that it's a bit slow. It takes quite a bit of time to get through a roll of 35 millimeter film, which is typically 36 shots. I would say for me, it usually takes about an hour. And that's quite a bit of time, especially if you have a backlog of rolls to scan. Overall though, I definitely recommend the scanner, as I said at the beginning of the video. It simply is a really good package for the price that you pay. Obviously, you're not getting all of the top end features, but that makes sense given the price point. If you're looking to get into this process to save some money, this is definitely a good way to save some money. It does require effort and it does require time, but if you're willing to give both of those in exchange for not having to spend money, this is a good option for you. Film processing at labs does add up after quite a bit of time, And ultimately, it's not the best way to spend your money if you could do this on your own. I personally enjoy film processing and scanning, so for me, this is totally worth it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to know what your experience is with this scanner, or if you're looking to buy this scanner and have a question, let me know in the comments as well. I'd be happy to get back to you. So that's all I got for today, everyone. Until next time, peace.